Dave, and this is Logan, out once again on the New Forest for a walk. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at a place called Dibden, which is right on the eastern edge of the New Forest. In fact, Southampton is just a few miles to the east behind us on the other side of the Southampton water. Now today we're going to be doing roughly a 5-mile circular route. We're going to see some lovely woodland, heathland, some gorgeous scenery, some Bronze Age barrows, a Roman road, and fingers crossed, if I can find it, something called a starfish site. But I'll tell you more about that if we find it. We're ready to go. Are you ready? Lots of squirrels about, so he's very much alert today. Let's go. Well, I've parked my car at the Dibden Forestry Commission car park and just making my way north. Dibden, by the way, means deep valley, and if you can see just behind me here, I'm guessing this is the valley that it gets its name from, because I feel as though I'm on an escarpment here. That's looking north, and then deep in this valley is a very boggy area down below, and this is gradually panning around to the south. But, now the actual settlement of Dibden is outside of the New Forest boundary, just to the east of me, on the other side of the main road. In fact, if you look on the map, it's called Dibden Purlieu, and purlieu is a word that means basically a land not subject to forest laws. I believe the area was taken out of the New Forest in the 14th century, and Dibden itself as a settlement has built up considerably since, well, the 1950s, largely as a result of the oil refinery that's not far from here. So we're going to carry along this escarpment, as it were, and enjoy some stunning views along the way. Well, I've just come to my first pit stop of the walk just to admire some of the views. Again, I'm on top of this, I call it an escarpment, but it's right on the edge of the Dibden Inclosure, and as you can see, it's a very pretty little scene. I see some cattle over in the far distance. I think those, oh, what are those called? Charolais, aren't they? I know they're white and they've got big ears that stick out to the side. But right, we shall kick on. I'm filming, middle of June. The sun trying to come out from the sky, about 12-14 degrees, something like that. But perfect weather for walking. Some more beautiful views to look at. We've just come out of the Dibden Inclosure, and isn't that a lovely valley with the although it's marshy down there, the cattle obviously don't seem to mind. And just panning across, that track in the far distance is where we'll be going, and we'll be going over that little footbridge. And the trees in the far distance, the Beaulieu River goes through there. We're now crossing Dibden Bottom, just going over a little bridge, and there's a lovely little, I suppose you'd call it a pond, which is right at the edge of the, well, it gets fed from the marshy valley, and in the far distance you can see the white cotton grass with their little seed heads that look like tufts of cotton. Of course, they love this sort of environment. Oh, that's quite pretty. Okay, so we're now going to head west, and a little bit of climbing to do, and I'm pleased to say the sun's come out. Oh, well, I'm going to give you one guess as to which is the prevailing wind round these parts. This poor little tree looks as though it's had a bad hair day, stuck out on its own with no protection. Yeah, sure enough, the prevailing wind round these parts is from the southwest. Right. Now we're just starting to see those first few signs of the purple heather coming through. I don't know if you can see that. A sure sign that the heart of the summer is not that far away. We're now heading south, just alongside the outskirts of an enclosure called the Noads, N-O-A-D-S. Very old. There's a lot of oak, holly and the odd yew tree in here. A lot of places in the south called, or have the word node in them, often means a beacon. And in fact, if you look on a map on the Isle of Wight, there are places called Noads Farm and Noads Point. So perhaps in the past, when some of these trees weren't so tall, there would have been a line of sight from here over to the Isle of Wight. Well, really loving this walk. Sun's out, we've got the woods on one side and this open plain on the other, with ponies happily grazing away. I've just finished reading a book called The Children of the New Forest by Frederick Marryat, written in 1847, and it was about four children, all part of the same family, that were orphaned during the time of the English Civil War. But it's so well written, and so many aspects of it tell you about the New Forest and its workings, particularly the nature and the wildlife. If you haven't read it, well worth a read. It's easily available still today in paperback. Whew, just come up a bit of a hill. Another terrific view to show you, I'm afraid. How about this? Now this is looking north. Isn't that beautiful? Although in the very, very far distance, I don't know if you can make out, it's quite a hazy day now, but you can just about make out the tops of the cranes from Southampton docks. Okay, so we're now going to continue to head south onto a slightly open area called Beaulieu Heath. Well, starting to make our way across Beaulieu Heath, and all around here there's a whole load of Bronze Age barrows. Just one over to my right there. Slightly unusual because there's no vegetation on it. Normally they're covered in either gorse or ferns, but that one's quite easy to spot. I wonder if it's been cut back for some sort of archaeological study. Maybe. You don't often see them that sort of bare and naked, as it were. Well, I've just crossed the B3054, which is the main road to Beaulieu. In fact, we've been following a path, part of the Solent Way, which of course is a long distance path of about 60 miles, I think it is, from Milford-on-Sea in the west to Emsworth, I think it is, in the east. But we are quite high up here. We just passed a trig point, which usually is an indication of being quite high. But we are now going to head through this little gap in some gorse because we've got some exploring to do. Well, I'm going to see if I can find the location of something that was called the Hilltop Starfish Decoy site, SF175B to be precise. Now, this decoy site was one of 6 that was built in the Second World War around the city of Southampton. I think there was something like 245 built in the UK in total. And basically what they were earthen banks and ditches, often in the shape of a rectangle or a square, and they'd be filled with old waste oil, wood, coal, basically anything that could burn. And whenever there was an attack from German bombers, these pits would be set alight. And the idea was that hopefully the enemy pilots would drop their bombs here in the inferno below, rather than their original site in Southampton. Now, if you look on a Google map, it's relatively obvious as to where some of these pits were, but trying to find it on the ground is a different kettle of fish altogether. But we'll give it a go. It might be a bit like looking for a needle in a haystack. Well, I have found something, but I don't think this is the part of the decoy site. It's a long straight ditch with banking either side, but the reason I don't think it's got anything to do with the decoy site is that it's just a little bit too long. And I do know that around about the same time in 1941, 1942, they were worried that this vast flat area might be an ideal landing ground for German gliders full of troops, so they did put these ditches in and banks to basically stop the gliders from landing. So I think that's what this ditch is. Might be wrong. Haha! Now this looks a bit more exciting. A lump of concrete in the middle of heathland, stuck out nowhere. And you can see there's as Logan's pointing out, there's a hole there. I think that possibly for a pole or a flag pole. But I think it proves that we're roughly in the right area. Now, is that some banking over there? Let's go and have a look. Here we go. Now I know from that Google map one of the earthworks was in the shape of a D. And look, you can see how it comes round here, and then this is one of the corners here. I'm not sure if this is going to come out all that well on the GoPro. I'll try and take some photos, but look here, this is another corner here, and then it goes round here as well. So if you imagine, if you're looking at I'd say a letter D, or perhaps a stirrup, that's the sort of shape that it is. And then this is a really obvious bank here on the corner, and there it goes off in the distance. Ah, success. Well, there we go. There's another pit with a bank and a ditch there. Well, I'm chuffed. I wasn't really expecting to find anything, so I'm pleased I did find it. Now, having said that, although it was clearly built here, there's some dispute as to whether or not it was ever used in earnest during the war, and the fact that I haven't seen any bomb craters around here that would have been evidence of its success does cast doubt about it. But I mentioned there were something like 245 of these made throughout the country during the war, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think there are any complete ones left. So there we go. No information board, no plaque, but a little bit of history that gradually is being sucked back by nature on the New Forest. Okay, we're going to make our way across the heath now, and there's a little clump of trees over there. I'm going to make my way there because I know there's a pretty little pond there, but it's not going to be easy to get there because it's surrounded by marsh and bog. So I'm going to have to try and find some pony tracks and follow those in. Oh wow, isn't this pretty? This is Stonyford Pond, and it really is, must be one of the remotest ponds in the whole of the New Forest. Like a little oasis, and look at those lilies. Oh, so pretty. And well, spotted a reflective strip from a pony that's been pulled off. You can see it's quite popular with ponies around here because you've got this little clump of conifers as shade from the heat of the sun. But, oh, that's smashing. Well, just about, I don't know, 500 or 600 yards away from the pond, there's 3 or 4 Bronze Age barrows, but one of them looks a little bit out of kilter with the rest, and that's this one here. And you can see it just looks too big and too tall, certainly, to be a barrow. Now, if you look back on some very old maps, you'll see that this was once a Victorian volunteer rifle range, and they used one of the barrows to put their targets on. Worse than that, they dug up the barrow next to it and used all the soil and rubble from that and piled it on top of this one. Outrageous. But I suppose in times of war, desperation is very much the order of the day. I know when they were building the RAF airfield at Beaulieu in the Second World War, when they were creating that flat surface, 2 or 3 Bronze Age barrows were levelled in that process as well. But I guess you get quite a good view from top, but I don't know, just kind of feels a bit disrespectful to climb up on there, so I won't. Well, we've just come off the heath and crossed a little stream called Flash Ford. Not named after me, I hasten to add. Possibly because you get flash floods here in the winter. And then this is Hardley Bridge. Oh, look at this sweet little foal. I'm presuming that's mother enjoying a drink in the stream. Oh, can only be about a month old, if that. Weeks anyway. What a cutie. I'm not going to get any closer than this. Best to be left alone. I'm now heading along a long straight track, and if you look on the current Ordnance Survey map just shows it as an earthwork, but very old maps show it as a Roman road, and as you can see, it certainly does look like a Roman road. Slight raised bank, and this goes all the way to the little hamlet of Applemore Hill to the north, and links down to the coast at Leap, where there was once a Roman port, long since silted up. In fact, we did a walk at Leap and actually passed where the port used to be. Well, we're right on the homeward leg now. You can probably hear the busy A326 on my right, and this is literally the boundary of the New Forest. On the eastern side here, we've just passed a boundary stone, And if I turn around, you can see, so there's the Forestry enclosure on my left, and these horrid looking electricity pylons right in the middle. A necessity, I suppose. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, a like and a comment, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. That way hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. We've had a lovely walk today. The sun's been quite glorious, and fortunately we've got some drinks in the car. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio.